Hello and welcome to the Adulting 101 video series. This is a quick version video. That means I'm going to keep the video itself to 15 minutes or less. But for you, it's going to be more interactive than that. Hopefully you have a copy of the notes that accompany this. And I'm going to invite you to pause after each slide. That'll give you time to write down what you learned, your thoughts, your questions. And then also if you're working with a group, maybe you're at home with your family or at school with a class, that'll give you time to discuss the prompts in the lower left-hand corner, like this one. What is your purpose in taking this class today? Well, our purpose today is to talk about negotiating a raise. This is part of the career preparation collection, and our essential questions today are why, where, and when do you negotiate a raise? How do you do that? What should you say, and what should you not say? So let's start with our big idea. A raise means requesting to be paid more than your current salary or hourly rate. And negotiating means that you understand that your first offer won't be the final answer. So you might ask for 10% and only get 2%, or maybe you don't get anything at all. But that's the basic idea of what we're looking at today. The first question you need to ask yourself is, do I even need to do this? And the answer is maybe not. A lot of companies have standard pay increases every year that they just say every year in May, we meet with every employee and go over their job performance review. And based on that, everyone is offered a cost of living adjustment for the next year. And that's just all it is. Also, if you work in a union, your union might go in and have a negotiating team that gets it done for everybody, and then everyone gets the same raise. So there are some professions that literally never have to do this. But if you are working in a job where you think, yep, nope, I know that's a thing, that we have to do that, when should you do it? You want to wait until you've worked for your employer for at least a year. You want to pay attention, is there a standard cycle or season to asking for raises in your company? If there is a seasonal nature to it, then after the end of one season going into the next. And then be reasonable. Don't ask if you know that your company is in the middle of a financial crisis. Don't ask when you know your boss is in the middle of a personal crisis. So try to find a time when things are steady, and that's a good time to ask. But you don't just go in off the top of your head. You've got to do some research. So what are some things you need to learn before you go in to ask for a raise? First, you want to find out what the appropriate pay is for someone doing your work in your area. And you might look at it and find out that you're making just as much or more than other people. It is important to find out first what your state laws are about salary conversations. So for example, in the state where I live, it is illegal for your boss to prohibit you from talking to your colleagues about pay raises. That said, I've had lots of students whose bosses have threatened them and said, you're not allowed to talk about how much you make, and if I catch you doing that, I'll fire you. That's actually illegal in our state. But you need to know for sure what it is in your state so that you don't make people uncomfortable. Then set your expectations. If it looks like, yeah, most people are making more than I am making for the job that I do, you can go ahead and start making a plan. Just so you know, a standard raise is normally 3 to 5% of your current pay. So you can start higher. To start the negotiation, you can start by saying, I would like 10% increase. And then your boss might go down from there in the negotiations. All right, what are you actually going to prepare? You want to prepare a physical proposal, so an actual piece of paper with your main points. Then you're going to make 2 copies, one for you to keep you on track in that conversation, and one that you're going to give to your boss or your supervisor to take with them and consider whether they're going to give you the raise. It's very likely that they won't make a decision in that conversation right there on the spot. They might need to think about it. They might need to ask their supervisor for permission. They might need to talk to human resources and get back to you later. So what are the main points on that piece of paper that you're going to prepare? We want to focus on what you provide for your employer, not what you need from them. And it's often a good idea to kind of divide it by past, present, and future. So for the past, how have you benefited your employer in the past? And be as specific as possible. How long have you been there? Do you have excellent attendance? Do you have an excellent record with customers? What are your performance stats? Have you ever been employee of the month? Are you always on time? What is it that you've always done well? Then present tense, highlight what you're doing now that makes you worth more than your current pay. Are you leading a project? Are you training other employees? Are you picking up lots of extra shifts? Are you opening or closing more than other people? Have you taken on more responsibility? And then in the future, offer any new responsibilities that you're willing to take on if they give you a raise. Are you willing to be a shift lead? Or would you like to create a new training program? Do you have a new initiative in mind? Do you have something that you're like, if I was a higher paid employee, I would like to put energy into this? You can tell them that. All right, once you've prepared your main points, what do? You're going to request a meeting with your boss and be honest about what the purpose is. You don't have to hide that you're going to ask for a raise. So email them and say, I was wondering if I could have a meeting with you to talk about potentially negotiating a raise. Then set your mindset. You want to go in with these 3 things in mind: confidence, positivity, and gratitude. Confidence means you walk in with your shoulders down, taking deep breaths. Don't rush. You are confident in who you are as an employee. You've done all this reflecting about what you've done to be a really good employee. You know what you do, so be confident about it. Be positive. You want to be focused on what you love about the job and why you want to continue. You are not focused on why you're mad about your pay or how you're irritated with your other coworkers. We're only going to name the positive things. And then grateful. This person that you're talking to has provided you a job and they're paying you. So you want to go in grateful for how they've been providing that for you so you don't burn that bridge. Also, you want to go in open to feedback. If you go in and say, I think I deserve to be paid more, it is totally fair for your supervisor to say, okay, if I'm going to pay you more, then I'd like to see you grow in these areas. Or even to say, I don't think I can pay you more because you have been slacking in these areas. So just be prepared and be open to that. And mentally be prepared to be positive and say, oh, thank you, good point. All right, so you're in the room. You're with your supervisor. You've got that piece of paper in front of you. What do you talk about? Start with your introduction. Be positive. Why do you enjoy working here? Then go over the past part. Outline your past job performance and include stats if you have them. How have you been a good employee? Then go into the present tense. Outline what you're doing now that's going above and beyond. Then get into future. Suggest some ideas about how you could take on more responsibility in the future. And then put out your offer, your starting request. Could I get a 10% increase, for example? What are you not going to talk about? We are not going to talk about anything negative. So we're not going to badmouth any other employees. You're not going to compare yourself to any other employees. Keep their names out of it, entirely. So you don't want to say, well, this person's always late and they make more than me. Nope, none of your business in this meeting. You don't name anyone else. You also don't want to bring any threats into the room. So you don't want to say, if you don't give me a raise, I'm going to quit. You can think that. That can be your plan, but you don't need to say that out loud. That's not the goal here. We want to keep it just focused on why you want to keep working there and what you could bring to the company if you were still there. And you also don't want to talk about the benefit to you. You want to focus on the benefit to the employer. So your negotiation should be based on what you can offer to them, not what they can offer to you. So don't talk about how your rent has gone up and your college bills are expensive and how you have all these financial obligations. Those are all really important reasons why you need to earn more money, but those are not reasons why your employer needs to personally pay you more. Does that make sense? So you can make other decisions in your life. Maybe you take on a second job. Maybe you look for a new job. That is not actually your employer's problem. Your employer has to determine, do they actually have the money to pay you more and have you earned that at their place of employment? All right, then the follow-up. Set some realistic expectations. They're not necessarily going to give you an answer right there in the room. It might take up to 2 weeks for them to think about it, check with payroll. So anticipate that. It's okay to say something like, hey, is it okay if I loop back in a few weeks if I haven't heard back from you? So you want to make sure that you plant that seed before the meeting's over so there's an expectation of we are going to have this conversation again later. What if your boss gets back and says, yes, you can have a raise? You want to be grateful. Say thank you. Be responsible. Follow through on whatever you promise to do in the future. And be cool about it. You don't need to go telling all your colleagues. You don't need to rub it in. You don't need to be rude to anybody else. What if they say no? Be grateful. Thank them for their consideration. Be responsible. Keep being the awesome employee that you always were. And if you do end up seeking a new job, be excellent until the day that you leave. You still want a recommendation letter from that boss. And be cool about it. That decision might not be about you personally. It might be about budget cuts. It might be pay freezes. So be cool about it. And if it is about you, if your boss said, honestly, I don't want to do that because you're late all the time and you're constantly missing your shifts, be cool about that too. Like that's appropriate for them to say, no, I don't need to give you more money when you're not doing the basic obligations, right? So maybe you work on stepping up those basic obligations. All right. If you have the whole collection here with your notes, on the next page, you're going to find a sample proposal page. So this is a place for you to practice scripting out for your real job or imaginary job. What would you actually bring up? What would be your past, your present, and your future? And then, if you want, practice with a friend. Take turns being the employee and the boss. Talk through your proposal and then give feedback to each other. All right, well, this is part of the career preparation collection. We're talking about negotiating a raise, right? These are all the other topics, not only in career preparation, but in the rest of the Adulting 101 series. If you think any of those would be helpful to you, check them out. All right, good luck. I hope you get that raise.